that, when you're youthful and your body heals a lot faster, is you can sort of skate by and get away with it.
Yeah.
But as you age, as you really start looking at the importance and the longevity, and the food that you're putting into your body has a direct correlation, as well as obviously our mental health, to your engine, to your system, to your overall health. And it's just so crucial.
Hi there, welcome to Finding Space with Alex Tyson, the show that celebrates the everyday legends who put in the hard work to become who they want to be and live the life they want to live. For people who understand that when we practice compassion and find wisdom within ourselves, we find success and happiness. Join me in hearing amazing stories from everyday individuals who have found incredible personal and professional growth through varied and, at times, wild methods of self-improvement and self-responsibility, and through their unique perspectives and work, have gone on to better the lives of those around them. From nurturing health to growing your wealth, or enjoying the present to crafting your future, no aspect of life is off topic. Aurora Gilbert, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute since we spoke last. And in that time, you've been busy, mate. What have you been up to?
Yeah. Okay, since we spoke last, we bought our house, we renovated, we got engaged. Me, my partner, Benny. Our little one started kindy, and we have just opened a gym, a Fit Stop gym down in South Fremantle. So life has been pretty hectic.
That is a lot to kind of assimilate,
Yeah. So it's been like that. Like it's just been super busy. As you were saying before, super productive as well, and really enjoying it.
Yeah, nice. I've been really conscious of using that word productive recently because I think language that we say out loud, but also in our heads, has an impact, and I caught myself too often, people that ask me, "Oh, Alex, how's your business going? Like, what have you been up to?" And I'm like, "Oh man, to be honest, been flat out, man. I've been so busy, and there's kind of like, it's not the right energy, and changing that to actually, you know what? I've been really productive recently. I like it. I think it's really important. We can just get caught in saying how busy we are, and it's kind of more, it's like that woe is life kind of mentality. And it's like, no, I've been productive. Like, I've had amazing opportunities to do all this great work, and sometimes it's really challenging, but other times it's really exciting, and it's been a good time. It sounds like you've been very productive. If I can ask, can you tell me about how you guys got engaged?
So Ben and I have been together for about 7 years now. I think it's coming up 7 years this year. And we decided to have a kid before, we got married. We discussed it, like everything that Ben and I do. So he was like, do you want to get engaged first? Do you want to have a kid? And I was like, I'm nearly 40. Let's have a kid. So we had Lilla, and then I guess we've been doing life, and we bought the house that we were renting and have been renovating. And then, and then we had our first vacay away, child-free. Mum had the little one, and he totally surprised me. So he first of all, he blindfolded me. He took me for some lunch first, and then he blindfolded me so I wouldn't know where we were going. And we went to go stay in a hotel, and poor guy, I was like, stop halfway through. I'm getting motion sickness. I need to get out. And he was like really, really sort of antsy. And I was like, why is he so antsy? I don't know what's going on. And I was like, I feel really nauseous. Like, you just took me for food, and now you've blindfolded me and you're driving. I feel really sick. Right. And he was like pacing. I was like, maybe, he's just nervous. It's our first weekend away. I don't know. He's like, I've got a time schedule. Okay. So we get up to the hotel room, and he's sort of being a little bit nervous, and we're drinking some champagne, and I was like, maybe he's, excited or whatever. And we're listening to some music, but he just felt really sort of weird. And I was like, I don't really know what's going on. And then suddenly I look out the window and I see a plane going by, and it's got Aurora, Will You Marry Me? But at the same time, the song that came on the music we were listening to, like on the video hits or whatever it was Prodigy, Smack My Bitch Up. And so he like gets down on one knee while this plane's going by saying, well, will you marry me, with Prodigy in the background? And I was like, well, what is going on? Like, I don't usually drink. And so I've had half a glass of champagne. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. I was like, yes. So yeah, it was romantic, but funny, typical Benny style.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then we had a fabulous night away, just the two of us, and, went and had dinner together and went and had massages and facials, which was, yeah, really, really lovely. And then came home and life as usual.
Yeah.
Back into it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
nice. Oh,
but yeah,
beautiful.
he caught me off guard, and it almost wasn't a secret because my sister's friend saw the airplane going, and we're messaging my sister going, oh my God, I just saw an airplane go by with Aurora's name on it. So yeah, it almost wasn't a secret. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's cool. I love a bit of Prodigy in the background too. That's hilarious.
Oh, it was hilarious. It was so perfect. Looking back, I was like, oh my God, this is so perfect. It's so you.
Yeah. How do you assimilate such big things happening in your life? I mean, you got engaged, you renovated a house, you guys bought a gym, you were already doing all this amazing work with your workshops and things. You got Lila. Like, how do you process so much in such a short amount of time?
Gosh. I guess I try to, like, exercise is a really big thing for me. So making sure that I'm moving my body, getting out in nature. So as well as renovating our house, we've got a really beautiful garden, which means that we've spent a lot of time in our garden redoing the garden, which is sort of keeps me grounded. As I'm looking out the window here, I have turned into a crazy bird lady. I feed all the local birds. I've got like a bowl out there. So, doing things like that, like we'd sit down after, finishing a task in the house and sit down on the veranda, look outside, have a cup of tea. I love having cups of tea now. And just sort of taking it all in. And then I guess probably like yourself, stepping back into the productiveness. I'm going to try use this instead of busyness. Stepping back into it and, getting done what needs to be done, but then also taking those moments, I guess, to look at how far you've come as well. So I guess, and also having a little one is amazing for that. Like, we spoke about this last time, we both of us have really tried to be conscious parents, which is challenging at times. And having a little person, Lila's 4 now, so she just started kindy, and they're so present in the moment that, when I'm with her, I try to be totally there with her, which means that, we're playing with animals and I'm, being a baby giraffe and she's being the mummy giraffe, which just sort of makes you slow right down. Like, you have to. And the difference between when we are rushing her around is she's tired and grumpy and cranky, but when we're present and we're sitting down and reading a book or we're doing craft or we're doing that, she's a different kid. Like, she's so happy and they're beaming, and that just becomes really apparent that you're like, oh, I need to slow down. Like, I can see in my child that she needs some more of my attention and energy, and I just need to slow down as well, have a cup of tea, play with her and be present. And
Yeah, it's so easy to get sucked into the speed of everything, isn't it? Especially as you're growing businesses and running around and keeping fit. Like, it's such high-paced stuff, and to be able to like pull back from that, I think is really, really important.
And especially when we're doing the gym, because we've built it from scratch. So after we renovated the house, we literally finished the house, and then we're like, okay, and now we're doing the gym. So
right.
So yeah.
Now, you said you were running like workshops in the gym, right? That's not typical fit stop sort of stuff, right? Like, tell me more about that.
No. So for Ben and I guess the passion has always been to have a holistic health space. So with the workshops I focus, and also with my health coaching, I do more one-on-one work, whereas I guess I've really channeled that into the gym. So we do ice baths once a month, and I facilitate them. So we do breath work first, and then we get into the ice bath and I talk our members through it. We started in summer, which was awesome. It's obviously easier to do an ice bath in summer. It's still really tricky, but it's, easier to start in summer. And we've continued doing this every single month. And our members are now doing ice baths where, like, we'd aim for 3 minutes. And, if you do 30 seconds, that's great. Whatever, just give it a go. But some of our members are doing like 7-8 minutes now.
Wow.
like they're jumping in and like, I talk them through it, and we usually do, sort of some grounding, touching on the back of the head, and just sort of talk them through it and do the breath work. And we're doing that every month. We have got a sauna at the gym as well. So we're doing that hot and cold therapy, and then also the education around why you do that. We have just started doing some ceremonial cacao and breathwork workshops. Ooh, yeah. So we kicked off, we're doing them every 2 months. So we did our first one about a month or so ago. And I had a guy called Mitch come in and facilitate it. And I've never been to one before, so I didn't know what to expect. And neither did our members. And it was awesome. So I've got the next one scheduled and booked in. But it was at the end, like, we lay down, we, did our breath work, and lots of people cried, and sort of things came up, and they, connected. And at the end, everyone was like, when are we going to do this again? This was awesome. But the funniest thing was the members were like, oh, I thought I was just coming down for a hot chocolate and to do some breathing. And I was like, well, I did too. You would go a bit deeper than that. But I guess it's I guess very different to, a traditional gym. I'm sure there are some gyms out there that are doing that. I've also started doing I've got a gut health workshop going on there next week. We do some boxing classes as well, which is not fit stop, but we've got I've got a friend from when I was doing boxing that he is a professional fighter, so he comes in and just to mix it up and really and also we've done a hike together as well, so just really working on building that community. And I think especially with the current state of the world and with COVID going on, and there's been more segregation than ever, that importance of community. And for me, first and foremost, is our mental health, our gut health, and then our physical health. So if we can have a gym where we're really focusing that community and also that accountability to turn up and to train, and friendships because we're all connecting as a community, it's been really, really beautiful. And I'm really, really enjoying it. And we also did vitamin infusions as well.
Okay. So what are we talking? We're talking like vitamin C, like what is that? Is that cocktail one? I can't remember the guy's name.
Yes. Yeah. The Maya cocktail. Yes. So after I got COVID a few weeks ago, and it got me good because I already had a cold. Yeah. And I found I was sort of recovering, but I was super just really foggy in the head. And so I booked that in, and we had I think there was about 12 of us in totals with the members. And, we're sort of making jokes about, the gym that all doing, shoot up and do infusions together. So we all sort of did the different infusions. You could pick which ones you wanted. And I did, instead of doing the Myers, I did one called the Ultimate. So this had your Hartmann's, which is all your hydration, your vitamin C, your vitamin B, and your glutathione. So glutathione being that reusable antioxidant in the body. And I just, within 2 days, my brain fog just went, and I was like, oh, my brain actually works again. This is amazing. Because otherwise I was just feeling like I was hungover, I was just feeling really foggy in the brain. So that's something we're going to do every 2 months as well. Oh,
man, this is a freaking cool gym. So, all right, there's a few things I want to explore there. So first of all, what does breath work mean to you? Because I find it's a really broad term, and I've gone to breath work classes where we're doing real intense, 3 minutes of heavy mouth breathing, and then breath holds, and the technique kind of sets in, and it's really intense. And then I've done less intense breath work sessions where it's just kind of breathing in as deep as you can through the nose, and then letting kind of gravity exhale through the nose. It's kind of a bit more gentle. So I'm curious, what kind of breath work you guys are running through?
So when we're doing the ice baths, I am doing, because I've always, when I've trained, breathe through my nose. And I guess that's what I've always done when I was doing boxing as well. So when we're doing the ice baths, I'm just getting people to pop their hands on their belly and just breathe deep, getting their belly to expand, and just really focusing on that longer out breath to calm the nervous system. Because naturally they're getting into an ice bath, and you can tell the people that are breathing really short and sharp, most of the time they're not going to stay in because it's too intense for them, and their body's like, get me out of here, otherwise I'm going to die. And they freak out and they've got to get out. So we spend a bit of time really just getting that breath work happening, just taking those nice big deep breaths in, breathing out through the nose for a longer out breath to calm the nervous system. And then they get into the ice. And the people that can really, and then we do sort of focusing on that breath, and you find that your whole body just warms up. Like it's still cold, but you just get this warmth. And I did. And so, I was going to say, I did one recently where people were talking while we're doing it, and I found that was super challenging. I got really cold doing it that way. So that's the breath work we're doing when we're doing the ice baths. When we did the cacao ceremony, we did, as you were saying before, it was more of a gentle approach, but it was doing that mouth breathing, which is not something that I've ever done before because I've always done sort of more nasal breathing. So it was all mouth breathing, and there were no holds or anything like that. It was just like we obviously we did some like some sort of warm ups where he got us to do big deep breaths in and then feeling the air into different parts of our body. But we did essentially 40 minutes of breath work. We sort of talked and then we lay down and did 40 minutes of breath work, and it was just that breathing in and out through your mouth. And there was music and it was sort of guided. He would talk at times, but it was just being in that space. And what I found amazing about that with the productiveness of life is that it was I was able just to be in that space as well as obviously our other members, because I took all my Himalayan salt lamps in there and we had all the lights dim so we didn't have the bright lights on, and everybody had pillows and blankets, and it created a real ambience. And it meant that people could just be in that space and just check in, because it's not often that, I know for me anyway, that I just get to be in a space and just breathe. And naturally, I'm a bit of a sook. So as soon as I just started breathing, tears started going. And, you could hear people crying and just some people just breathing, and just people had different experiences. But the one thing I noticed when we finished was that everybody got up and we sort of shared what we felt, and everybody's life felt really connected. And so it was an amazing experience. I'm really looking forward to the next one, but it was, I guess, more of that slow, gentle breath. And the reason I wanted to do it is, I guess that breathing is a big thing for me. I notice when I'm being productive that sometimes I breathe really shallow through here, and it's usually the way that I can tell that I'm stressed is I'm like, I'm not breathing properly. So it's been something I've really focused on, especially with training. I always do that nasal breathing, because when I nasal breathe, I can train harder. I get more endurance, and I'm not gassing out the same as, when I was boxing. As I'm doing that nasal breathing, is I can actually push my body harder. I can sort of get more comfortable in the uncomfortableness, because you're not gassing out. Whereas when you're breathing through your mouth, you gas out and you're sort of gasping for air. So I enjoy that sort of playing around with breath with training, but it's something that I'm not great at. And it's something that I guess I'm not great at doing in life when I'm stressed or, productive, busy. So for me, I really am, I'm like, it's something that I'm going to continue doing. So like, this is something that I really want to focus on, and the benefits. Have you listened to or read James Nestor's book on breath? Is it?
No,
Breathe?
I haven't read it yet. I've read a different book on the breath, but
yeah. So I've listened to that and was awesome. And then they've got all these stats in there of breathing, like proper breath and how that affects our overall health. So yeah, it's really, really crucial and important, as I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think I find sometimes I've come across resistance when speaking about breath work and sharing some of the breakthroughs or the epiphanies or the moments you have when you do those extended duration breathwork sessions. People are like, I don't want to like go and cry for 45 minutes, but and you may not,
No.
Yeah, that may not happen, but it's a really powerful way to. You can definitely have epiphanies and you can definitely have breakthroughs, but at the very minimum, it just puts the focus on the breath, like you said. And when we're stressed, because we are just freaking busy, the negative side of it, the breath is the first thing that goes. Especially if something like big comes up in a moment, like we just go really shallow. Sometimes, yep. It's quite common for us to actually hold our breath without us realizing. And holding breath doesn't mean like, but it might be on the exhale, and we just don't breathe in for quite a while whilst we're typing on the computer and we're hunched over and we're not in a very good position. The breath is the first thing that goes. And like you said, I haven't read James Nestor's book, but many books on breath talk about that. You know, it's our life force, and opening up our lungs and being conscious of that throughout the day. I think for me, a really important point with breath work is that we can go and do a 10, 20, 30, 40-minute session of breath work, but that won't necessarily change our quality of breath through the rest of the day unless we're conscious about it, right? And that's for me where the magic is.
And that was one thing I noticed for me after doing that breath work was for the next couple of days afterwards, is I found that because there had been that focus on just breathing, that I was getting more oxygen. Like I was feeling that I was taking bigger breaths. And I shouldn't just say, yes, as I said, I'm the sook, so I cried, but there were also these really beautiful moments of, like, you know, when you're saying epiphanies of, you know, there was, I guess for me, I got this feeling when I meditate of like sort of floating up towards the sky, and there was just sort of like, it was almost like a journey. Would be the best best way to describe it. And that's, you know, that not having that expectation was just like, okay, let's just see where this takes me. If anything, if I get 40 minutes just to lie and breathe, then that's amazing, because how often in life do we get to do that unless we create that?
Yeah, 100%. I've since started doing just shorter breathwork sessions in the morning. You know, just on my Instagram this morning, I posted it was videos from a couple of days ago, but I was in Melbourne and woke up, meditated, turned the sauna on, and then I did 10 minutes of breath work, and then did sauna, and then did ice bath. You know, it doesn't have to be a 40-minute thing, but just like activating, you know, and getting that oxygen in, it's really stimulating, and it gives you just like you said, 10 minutes, but a glimpse of what you can do over a longer session, which can be, super powerful. You know, in fact, the last session I did was, I think it went for about an hour, like when I purposely went somewhere for breath work. And I remember I was just got halfway through and I was like, I can't go anymore. This is impossible, you know? And I find it really analogous for life though, because that happens, you know, you'll be going through something and you're like, I can't do this anymore. And it's like, yeah, you can, you know, like just keep going, man, stick with it. You'll be okay. And you are okay, you know, regardless of what's happening.
And that is, I guess, for me, translates into when I'm training as well, as that when something's like, you know, if I'm training and it's super uncomfortable, we're doing like cardio, and I'm not a massive fan of cardio, you know, and it's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to die. Like this, like this is, you know, next level is like, this too shall pass is always what comes up in my head, is like, get comfortable in the uncomfortableness. Like I'll think about, okay, can I just breathe out a little bit longer and lean into this, because this will pass. This is temporary.
Similar ice baths as well. You know, like what I love about that is it's a way to train us on how we handle stress, right? It's just in a very acute moment of 30 seconds a minute, you know, 120 seconds. But in that moment, you got to like hold your shit together and focus on the breath. Don't lose the breath, because that's what happens when we get stressed. And right now we're very stressed because we're in 4 degrees, you know, and then you can really apply that to other areas in your life. That's why I really love ice baths so much.
And the way that it makes you feel afterwards as well. And that, and especially like pairing it with, because obviously we do it after training at the gym, is that the recovery for your body, and just like that night's sleep, like it's just magic.
Yeah.
So it's 70 cooler here.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to explore the vitamin thing a little bit more too. So there's the Myers cocktail. You said you were doing another one with some glutathione. There's also like, you can just get big dose vitamin C through like intravenous as well nowadays. And this is a somewhat common thing, right? Like it's not hard to go and find this stuff. Yeah.
No, so there's a company that I found that would come out to the gym. So I simply organised our members who were keen to do it. And they came in, I sort of set up the space so we could all sit down, and they literally hook you up to an IV and you're there for maybe half hour or something. But there's a whole range. So basically you've got this sort of menu of different IVs you can choose from, and you can sort of, I guess, you know, there's ones for your skin, there's ones for your immune system, there's ones for and then you can do add-ons. So I went with the ultimate because it covered most of the add-ons. One of my friends, she did like the tranquility shot, which had like all your taurine and what else did I have in there? GABA and things like that. So she was like, you know, she's an anxious person, she said she felt a lot calmer after doing that. I know that when I took GABA when I was competing ages ago, that it definitely made me feel calmer.
Yeah.
So you can sort of pick through and choose what you're wanting to have, and then you can add things in. So you can add like zinc in, you can add magnesium. So you basically, I mean, it's a good idea if you know your body well. It's a good idea, obviously, to see your doctor, do a blood test, like have a look at, you know, where your bloods are at. Like I know my vitamin D is really high because they also do, you know, your iron and your vitamin D, things like that. So I know my vitamin D is really high and my iron is pretty good. So you can sort of pick and choose. Glutathione for me was a definite, but I chose to do the ultimate because it basically had the C, the B, and the glutathione, as well as obviously the hydration. Now Benny had a boys catch up lunch the next day, so they went and, you know, had some beers and had some food, and he said that on the Monday he felt really, really good, and it would have been from all that hydration and all the vitamin infusions. I myself went and had dinner with a friend, and, you know, then went and had the most amazing sleep. Like I had, because I monitor my sleep, I had like nearly 2 hours deep sleep and like over 2 hours of REM sleep, and it was just like felt really rested, and just then really like I was, you know, on Monday I just felt like, oh, like I just felt good.
Yeah. It's so powerful. There's listening to a great episode with Dave Asprey, you know, essentially god of biohacking, I feel like, and
him and Ben Greenfield.
Oh yeah, Ben Greenfield, man, that guy's just out there, man. And the importance of like minerals and correct vitamins in the body like cannot be understated. And when you have an experience like that and you realize like, oh, I was probably lacking in that, you know, and
this is what good feels like.
yeah, exactly. You know, I went through a similar thing. Like, as you know, I've done 2 really long fasts, you know, and I came out of that and got my bloods done last year, and my iron levels were actually fucking awesome, like right where they need to be, which is contrary to what pretty much everyone thought would be the case after not eating for a month and eating strict vegan and raw vegan for such a long period of time. And so my iron levels were good, but my vitamin D levels were actually really low. And so contrary to how I would have handled it in the past, I started taking some vitamin D, and really high quality vitamin D, high dose, and it was incredible the difference it made very quickly. And it was similar. My B12 was really, really low, so I had a few B12 injections in the butt. Shout out to my partner for doing that, and then started supplementing with it. And it's incredible how you feel. And I think it's really common for, you know, you talked about anxiety, right? Well, there's some things we can do. Like part of that anxiety can be related to the mineral and vitamin makeup in our body. It's chances are we're lacking in something, you know, and whether that's anxiety or whether it's lack of energy or whatever it might be, lack of being able to get to that deep sleep, mineral content in the body is a really important thing to look at.
And that's something that after I had Lilla, because obviously, and I did supplement through my pregnancy because obviously, and also afterwards, like, and I did that more food-based when I say supplement, you know, things like maca powder and camu berry and things like that. But you give so much to that little person when you're growing them. Like I checked all my levels, and then after I had Lilla, like everything was like boom down, like, because you've just, you know, you've created life.
Yeah.
And then putting all of that nutrients back into your body afterwards. And my sleep, like trying to sleep has been such a focus for me because I really struggled to get deep sleep after having Lilla. Like my adrenals were so on listing out for this little person. Like, you know, when I put her down for a nap, I co-slept. But, you know, if I put her down for a nap, always like you're sort of always on listing. So there's been some sort of game changers for me of like taking a magnesium, as well as obviously doing a spray magnesium because we absorb more transdermally than we do through orally. Things like that were a game changer for me of being able to get into a deep sleep. And if you think about that, like I think about our body as sort of an engine, like with this amazing design of, you know, we're made up of the food that we eat, and, you know, it's at a cellular level. Like if we don't have all those right ingredients, it's, you know, the same as if you're putting water into your car, it's just not going to run. So I think that, you know, when you're youthful and your body heals a lot faster, is you can sort of skate by and get away with it. But as you age, as you really start looking at the importance and the longevity, and the food that you're putting into your body has a direct correlation, as well as obviously our mental health, to your engine, to your system, to your overall health. And and it's just so crucial. And I think that there is, I guess, as you're saying, like, people, I was speaking to a girl about anxiety the other day, and I was talking about, your B vitamins and all those sorts of things, of different nutrition and different teas and things like that you can do, as well as obviously the side of, checking in and doing some mindfulness and all those sorts of things, because it's not like you take, some people are like, oh, I'll just take this pill and then everything will be okay. Like, it's holistic in approach. So it's, what's my sleep like? What's my water intake like? What are my relationships like? What's my nutrition like? Am I moving my body? All of those sorts of things come into play.
Well, this is why you have your business, the Holistic Health Nut, right? Because it has to be has to be a holistic approach. It's
definitely.
not just one thing. I say in my book, like, our expression of health right now is how we've spent our life up until that point. Every decision we make, everything that we do, the way that we spend our time, the choices that we make have all led up to how we feel right now. And so if we want to feel differently, we need to approach things differently. And that means in the relationships that we have, in the food that we eat, maybe we need to supplement for a little bit through food or through, supplements themselves, whatever it might be. Let's find out how our body's tracking from a blood's perspective. Maybe we've got mold problems going on. Maybe there's something that really stresses us out that we can move away from. We need to kind of reframe the way that we're spending our time to be able to experience a different level of health. Yeah,
definitely. And that's really, really powerful. And also that marketing in your mind, like, if somebody watches TV and you've got, I don't know, people probably don't watch TV with ads, but in my day, when you had ads, is that, it's that marketing, like, they're marketing to you. And for me, it's, what's your self-talk like? Like, how are you marketing your life to yourself? How do you talk to yourself if you don't do something, or while you're training, or, those sorts of things? And, do you have gratitudes in your life, or the things that you're grateful for? Like, it really, they all affect how you feel. And as well as all of those things that you just talked about, like, all layered in are you today, right now.
Yeah. Just marinate on that for a moment. There's a wonderful couple up here in the Sunshine Coast. They run a cafe called New Earth, and she her name's Sarah. I can't remember her last name, but she did a talk at an event I was at recently, and she said, write down your thoughts, like, good or bad. If there's something happening in your life, and, like, write down what you're thinking, and actually look at the words. This is why I talked about words at the start of it. Look at the words that you're using, right? And the power that they have. And, I've done this a few times. And I'm like, whoa, like, I'm really disempowering myself right now. If I think that, and when you write it out, it's such a great way to then switch, because you're like, holy shit, like, this is what's going on in my head on repeat. I need to change that. I'm not busy. Yeah. No, I'm productive. Right?
Yeah. And it's that loop, isn't it? It's that loop, because and that's something that we do with Lila, is I do gratitudes with her in the evening, and she now does it to me. Like, if I, put her down, because I put her down to sleep, and she might say, oh, Mama, what are you grateful for? And if I can help her to, I guess, look for the positives, to have that benefit and know how to problem solve things, then what a huge head start that is, because creating new habits is challenging. Like, you've got to be conscious and check in, and all of that programming happens from, what they say, 0 to 6 years old. I remember, like, when you were just saying that before about having to write down the words, I remember I was listening to a Louise Hay's book a long, long time ago, and my self-talk when I was training, and it was when I used to do personal training, so I used to train people, my self-talk to myself if I was training was like, come on, hurry up, you're being a lazy bitch, like, not nice at all.
Yeah.
And I remember it, she was saying, how would you coach somebody else? And so when I was training people, I was like, you're doing really well, that's amazing, keep going. And so I switched that over. So now, when I'm training and it gets hard, I'm like, oh, you're doing so well, you've only got 30 seconds to go, this too shall pass. It's amazing how that translates into and trickles into every other area of your life, as into when you get up and your mindset. Like, it's just catching yourself. And I'm definitely guilty of it in other areas of my life where I'll give myself a hard time, but it's catching yourself, I guess, is learning how to go, oh, okay, how do I redirect?
You talked about taking magnesium in the evening. Were you taking that with anything else? Like, did you have a bit of an evening routine going when you were trying to get some more sleep after having Lila?
Yeah, I tried all the things. It's like ashwagandha,
Right.
I was like magnesium. Excuse me. So I also have an Aura which I was tracking my sleep with as well. And so my night routine was, I was making sure that I wasn't doing screens. We make sure that in our house I've got like all the Himalayan salt lamps, so I try not to do bright lights on in the house, and I've also got the warming lights. So and also we do, especially with a little person, I do calming music from about 4:30 in the afternoon. So I've just got like a calming instrumental playlist that plays, or some peaceful guitar, and it's just that wind down. So for me, I was taking an adrenal support supplement in the daytime, which had your ashwagandha, your B vitamins. What else did I have in it? Your choline, things like that for your cognitive health. I was definitely minimizing screen time. I have a shortcut on my phone where I can click it 3 times and it goes red, so it takes up all of the blue from my phone.
Love that.
I have blue blocker glasses as well, that if I was doing some work on the computer or was watching something on TV with Ben, that I can put that on, but I was trying to really limit screen time. And trying to, I was having coffee when Lila was smaller because I was finding I needed that energy. And I guess I was using it as a drug. I recently did a DNA test, and I mean, coffee's been something I do and then don't do, and have completely gone off it because my body already knew this. My body does not metabolize it well. So I need to make sure that if I had coffee in the daytime, I know I'm not going to sleep that night. I know that I'm going to sleep, but I'm going to have a really restless sleep. So I guess I had that sort of routine where I was like supplementing, no screen time, calming music, nice warm shower, magnesium, like a nighttime magnesium. Bioceuticals do one that's was a game changer for me. And I was also doing medicinal mushrooms, like the reishi for that mental calm, and the lion's mane, like when I was having a coffee, in the coffee to help it be more alkaline, and also to help with that, getting into that deeper sleep. So I found that those combinations of things, and also as Lila got older, and knowing that, she was going to, be able to sleep through the night. I wasn't going to have to get up and rescue her from a saber-toothed tiger or something like that. And also that co-sleeping, having her beside me, I was able to start getting into that deeper sleep again. So I've definitely, and also that physical exercise as well. Yes. So as I'm talking, I'm like layering in different things, getting out into the nature as well, and nature noises in the background. So we have the sound of the ocean for Lila that plays at night. So that sort of rolling sound of waves, and that just takes out any other noise, and I just can get into a more restful sleep.
It's all connected. Yeah.
I just there's so many sort of layers to it.
Yeah, 100%. It's the consciousness and the awareness of the importance of all of them. Like if you sprinkle a bit of all that across your day and your evening, it's going to have an impact. If oftentimes I hear people, I sleep pretty good. It's like, okay, but maybe not aware of how good you could be sleeping,
And sorry, you continue.
No, I was just going to say, because it's common for people to be on screens at night and having coffee, anytime, like even after 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's like that's going to have an impact. Although you may be used to sleeping in that way because that's how you've been living for such a long period of time, there's definitely improvements can be made,
Yeah, it's like that's your good at the moment. And it's that's the one thing with when I do the health coaching with clients is when you speak to somebody, they're like, oh yeah, like, you said, I've got pretty good sleep. And then they're like, do you get up during the night to go to the toilet? Oh yeah, a couple of times. I'm like, and what time do you go to, it's amazing what good to you or to me might be is really different to somebody else, and what their norm is. And I also have listened to that, is it Matthew Walker's sleep book? And that half-life of coffee. So if you're having a coffee, I think it takes 3 days before coffee's totally out of your system. So it's interesting the way that it affects people, but also the I guess the consciousness of checking and going, oh, how does that really make me feel? Of like when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh yeah, maybe you've been asleep for that period of time, because when I had Lila, I was asleep, early till whatever time I was getting up, but I just wasn't getting into that deep restful sleep, which is really, really crucial. So I wasn't getting into that deep restorative healing sleep. So I was doing all my REM sleep. So I was processing everything and I was dreaming and I was getting that and I was getting good length of time, but I was restless and I wasn't getting deep sleep, which means my body's not healing, which means my body's not releasing growth hormone to, if I'm training and building muscle, just, that trickling cascade of, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating well, like all of those things just feed into each other.
Yeah. Not clearing out the beta amyloids from the brain, associated with Alzheimer's, and there's so many flow-on effects of that.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears for a moment because you talked about co-sleeping and tell me a bit more about that and how your experience was with that. This is purely personal reasons for me. Like people might switch off right now. My partner's pregnant. We're going to do co-sleeping,
really?
but I'm curious to hear about your experience with it. Yeah, thanks.
That's super exciting for you.
Yeah, it is.
So I mean, it just felt right for me. And I don't know, we co-slept. We lived in like a studio style. It was like a townhouse, but there was just like one big space with like a floating level. So when Lila was about 6 months old, we moved into a house, which is 3 houses up the road from my mum, which is amazing. And so when we first moved in, so we all slept in the same room. So there was one room and Lila most of the time was in the bed with us when she was little. And it was just easier because I breastfed her until she was 20 months. So it's just easy for breastfeeding and it just felt like the right thing to do. Then I tried putting her in the bassinet beside me a couple of times, but I was like, just doesn't feel right. I kept waking up and sort of looking for her.
Yeah.
And so that's what felt right for me. Like I put like a sort of a little pillows around. So Ben was going to roll on her and squish her. And I was sleeping lightly because you've got this new precious little person there that I wasn't getting into deep sleep because you're like, I'm responsible for this little person.
Yeah.
And then when we moved into our house, I was like, okay, I'll try putting her in her room because before having Lila, I was like, oh no, she can sleep in her room. It's important she gets good sleep. It's important I get good sleep. Good sleep's important to me. And we did. We put her into her own room and I remember we were lying in bed and we've got 2 Chihuahua pups and they were in bed with us and or beside us and we were both in bed and I was like, this feels so wrong. I was like, this feels insane to me. And, people do what's right for them. But for me, I was like, this feels insane for me that this little person that is so dependent on me is in another room. And we're all in one room together. Like, we're sort of, all sleeping as a pack. And so I went and got her and, she slept in our bed ever after. And it just was easy because I was breastfeeding. And it also meant that Lila slept better. It meant that she would just sort of touch me and that's it, she'd go back to sleep. Whereas if when I wasn't there or if she has a nap, when she had to have a nap in the daytime and she'd sort of wake up and you're not there, they cry, oh, where are you? Because they're designed to, I guess, cry so they to get your attention. They need your help. Like they need you. They're so dependent on you. And I also did study on it as well and sort of looked at some research of, I guess, that confidence of them knowing that you're there. And instead of that, for me, the cry out method was, of the sort of the child will cry until they realize the parent's not coming. I was like, that doesn't really suit me. The child gives up and goes, oh, okay, they're not coming to come and get me to rescue me, and they give up. Whereas, they're wired to need our attention, to cry when they need something. So the confidence that it gives them, like I never leave and not tell Lila, like if I'm going somewhere, I never just disappear out the door and don't tell her. I always like, okay. And sometimes she doesn't want me to go, but I'll be like, okay, I'm going to be gone for an hour. Like this morning, she's gone with Ben. They've gotten out of the house. Otherwise I'd have her climbing up all over me. The dogs are at mum's house and they'd be barking in the background. But, I always say, okay, I'll be back soon. And she's like, okay, because toddlers and I guess babies, it's that need to feel safe and secure. So it just felt right to have her co-sleep with us. And also for Ben, like Ben was working a lot when Lila was little. Like he'd get up early and he'd get home really late, which should usually, already be asleep. And he got that extra half hour in the morning of just the two of them bonding, and it was amazing for their relationship. And we still do co-sleeping now. We bed hop. So Lila's got a queen size bed. And sometimes Ben will sleep with her, sometimes I'll sleep in there, sometimes she's in our bed. Like we're sort of all bed hop, and she just sleeps better if, you know, some of us are there. Like, she likes to sleep in her own room, but it's just that touching. And I know she's not going to do it forever. Like, you know, you've got such a short period of time where they're little people that they want you in their life before they're like, you know, their friends are going to be their favorite people. That I'll take it. Like, I'll take every moment that I can.
Yeah. From my experience starting to get into this space and learn about it, the highest kind of level, biggest thing I've realized is there is a lot of fear around birth, around pregnancy, around postpartum. And there seems to be a lot of kind of separation afterwards quite quickly. And what I liked about what you said was it's about intuition. You know, I've had friends recently and over the past few years who they were kind of following, you know, the medical system or following what a certain book might have said or what they read or whatever, and it kind of went against their intuition. And then they're like, oh, in reflection, I probably should have done that, you know, instead of doing what I read somewhere which didn't feel right to me, you know, and co-sleeping felt right to you, feels right to me. That's what we're going to do. And I think that's the important piece. Like, regardless of what, like, just follow what feels right for you. And it might mean not co-sleeping. It might mean co-sleeping. It might mean going and having birth at a hospital. It might mean a home birth, whatever it might be. I think that intuition is really important. Listen, and let's not even call it intuition. Let's just call it listening to your inner voice, you know, listening to your gut feel.
And that is because different things work for different people. And like, I have a friend who's little one who she's like, will not sleep in the same room with her. She's like, since she was little, has always wanted to be in her own bed. That's it. And I'm like, you know, it's just what works for your family as well. Like, we've got one kid. Like, you know, would that be different if we had 2 or 3? Probably. Who knows? Get a bigger bed.
Double king bed.
But we have one, like, and that was also planned, was like, I just want to have, you know, being that I had her at 40, it was like, I just want to be really present with her. Part of me also thinks, oh yes, I love having siblings. It'd be amazing for her to have a sibling, but just making sure that she has close relationships with her cousins and those sorts of things. So
nice.
There's a really beautiful book that talks about that 4th trimester, which I'm sure you're all over, but that nutrients back in afterwards for mothers. And we did 6 weeks after having Lila, I didn't see anyone. Like, aside from my mum and my sister, I just said, I'm checking out from the world. I told all my friends ahead of time, don't get offended or upset if you don't see me, if you don't see Bub. We're just going to have 6 weeks of just us, like in our baby bubble. And just, you know, the only other people that held Lila were Ben, myself, my mum and my sister. And they, you know, cooked food for me and helped with cleaning, things like that. So we could just really settle in as a family. And I really noticed the difference when I'd have like a limit of no more than 2 different people a day once that 6 weeks was sort of up. And I really noticed a difference when that stimulation of babies seeing lots of different people, like, it kept her up, like she didn't sleep as well because they're processing. So, it was a really beautiful time.
The first 40 days, right?
Yeah, that's the book. It's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so to wrap us up then, walk me through your day, because for people who are listening, like, Aurora, you're beaming. You're looking freaking awesome. So, like, what are you
sitting
doing?
in the right spot in the house?
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you got the lighting sorted, you know, like, but you're obviously doing
the house.
You're obviously doing some things right. So like what's kind of in your rotation at the moment? Like, how are you working out? Are you taking any kind of vitamins and things? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So my day looks like I'm up pretty early. Like, I'm up about 4:15 most mornings. Ben and I alternate being at the gym. So I'm there, like, if I'm down at the gym, I'm down at the gym by 4:30 in the morning, and I'm sort of just water. I'll just do water. I do at least a litre of water.
Yeah.
And that's just to get my body sort of awake, whether it's warm water in winter, whether it's, you know, cold water in summer. And then I'll usually do training in the morning. So generally I do my training fasted. Fit Stop is that strength and conditioning HIIT style training. So I'll do my training session and then I'll do liquid nutrients straight in. So we have got, there's a lady who does fresh cold pressed juices and they have also got avocado in there, and they've got a brown rice protein powder. So they're a complete meal. She's actually just stopped doing them, which I'm sad about, but that would be my post-training nutrition strategy. And it's liquid, so it's easy for the body to break down and absorb. It's got my fats in there. It's got my carbs in there. It's nutrient dense. It's got like kale and lemon and ginger and beetroot and all these wonderful things in there. It's I think it's about 1.5 kilos of cold pressed juice.
Wow.
And then I'm usually going to do some work down at the gym. And once I finish, I'll come back home. Maybe I'm taking Lila to kindy. I'll make her breakfast. She often has soup for breakfast.
Like pumpkin soup, tomato soup kind of thing?
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. So, yeah, she loves soup. So I'll make soup. I either do, like, we did tomato soup the other day. We did pumpkin soup. I'll do like a chicken soup as well. She doesn't like the chicken bits, but she likes the chicken soup, like a chicken sort of vegetable. And I'll cook my rice in like a bone broth, and she'll have the rice that's obviously been cooked in bone broth, so it's more nutrient dense. She'll have rice and soup together, so it's sort of easier to eat for a little person, and they don't spill it everywhere. So I'll often have that for breakfast with her. So I don't have, I guess, breakfast foods. I'm happy to eat dinner for breakfast, whatever food's food. And so I'll have breakfast with her, get her to school. I will supplement before or after. So that usually looks like I do electrolytes. When I'm training, especially in summer, especially saunering, and I do ones that are like a really good quality electrolyte that are really salty as well. And then I've got, what else am I doing? So then I'll sort of do, let me think about so medicinal mushrooms. So often, whether I put them into a cup of tea, I like to have an Earl Grey tea because it's sort of my sit down and treat myself, or whether it's a herbal tea or like a cacao or something like that. I'll put medicinal mushrooms in there. I like to use tremella. I've been using because obviously it's great for our lung health after having COVID. It's also a great beauty mushroom as well for skin, for hydration of skin. So I'll do some mushrooms in there. Like I do a cocktail of mushrooms. I have got a Chaga elixir that I always take as well, which is obviously all your B vitamins, which is great for our nervous system, highest food source of antioxidants on the planet. What else do I do? Then it's like I will, if I'm not having some sort of fish that day, sometimes I'll supplement with a fish oil as well. But often I try to eat, whether I'll get sardines or something like that. I'm really, I guess, conscious of making sure that Lila has fish for her brain health. So what else? And then it's just like drinking lots of water. I've been really trying to keep on to drinking 3 to 4 litres of water. So I usually drink a litre of water in the morning. I'll drink a litre of water while I'm training, and just making sure I'm drinking that water throughout the day. I try not to drink it closer to bedtime, so you're not getting up to need to go to the toilet. Sorry, my robot vacuum cleaner has just turned itself on. Let's turn it off right now.
It sounded like a plane was flying over or something. Pleasures of Zoom podcasts and not
Mum life
studio podcasts. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I can definitely recommend that robot vacuum cleaner. She's amazing. Robot honey face, we've called her. And then, for me, if I'm being productive that day, sometimes it looks like liquid nutrition. So it's a smoothie. Sometimes it's a big salad and, some sardines or, something like that, or some mackerel or some eggs or something like that. Then I'm usually picking Lila up from school. I'm home. We'll go for a walk. We'll take the dogs for a walk. We'll sit down out in the garden. We've just been doing our veggie garden. So Lila and I have been out there, sort of every other day. We've got a whole heap of seedlings that we've done that we're about to transfer into the garden. We've got her a cubby house. So she's got all these little flowers that we've planted in her flower beds that are starting to grow. So we sort of get out into the garden. There's also our next door neighbour's a little girl, so the two of them will usually, run a ride around the yard. And then we start cooking together. So Lila helps me cook in the evening. And I really try and involve her as well. So we usually put some calming music on, which is that calming instrumental playlist, which is amazing. There's no words in it. It's just, beautiful, I guess, sort of classical music or different sort of covers, but without the words.
Cool.
And we'll cook together. So, she'll help me. I'll chop the vegetables up. She'll put them in the pan for me. So we'll make dinner. And then we sit down. Sometimes Ben's still at work. So that means that Lila and I will sit down and have dinner together. If he's finished early, then we'll all sit down and eat together. We are sending Lila to, it's a Steiner education. Yeah. And so they do their lunch there together at school. And so she's really gotten into, because we were guilty of sometimes, like, we're both of us are rushed and she'd be having dinner. She's like, Mama, Dad, it's really nice if we can eat food together. Yeah. So we sit down. I'm like, yes, you're right. Yeah. So we sit down and, we try to eat together. And I like to eat early with Lila so we can eat together, but I also like to have 2 to 3 hours at least of not eating before going to sleep. After dinner, maybe I'll have a herbal tea, but then it's just water. I will try sort of an hour after dinner, I'll have my magnesium. And if I'm having zinc as well, I might have some zinc in there as well. And then it's just water until I go to bed. So that's, sometimes that can look like maybe if we're watching something together, Ben and I, or it can be sitting in front of the fire. We've got a fireplace, so often we're just sitting in front of the fire. And then I try to get to sleep. I try to be in bed by about 9:30 because I'm going to get up the next day and do, I get up pretty early. Yeah. And that's sort of what a day in the life looks like. If I've got more time, then sometimes Lila and I will sit down and do a little bit of a guided meditation together, which is really cute. Nice. Like I just try to have that, sort of that downtime where we'll just sit on the couch together and we'll just listen to something. And a guided meditation like a children's one, it's sort of got a story. So she'll happily listen to that and she'll say, Mama, can we do the dragon meditation? So or the starfish one where we do sort of the breathe in and out as you're going through your hands, like, this. Right. So, and then that's it, rinse, repeat.
Amazing. No, that's really cool. I asked that question because it's actually really important to think about our day in that way, I believe, to say, okay, well, these are the things that are important from a physiological, from a body, from a health, from a mind, spirit perspective. And this is where I'm going to do them throughout the day. And so hearing that from you is really cool because it gives us an idea of how we can fit some of these things in, and they're like the important checkpoints throughout the day that you make sure you guys are having dinner together. You make sure that you're having your liquid nutrition after you go to a workout in the morning, and what is it and all that. So I'm really thankful for you sharing that. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And it's obviously working for you because, you're looking really good. You're beaming. The light's obviously good. You're in front of a window,
I'm in front of the window. It's an overcast day here in Perth. It is raining, but I was like.
No, but I always say that because sometimes I see people online and like they're talking about something health related, but they don't look healthy. It's like, if you look healthy, you're obviously living and breathing it, so it's a really great way to tell if someone is doing things that are working,
I guess for me, that's why, I've always been inspired by health, but it's also why I guess I work within that realm as well, because it keeps me accountable and keeps me, as I'm talking, I'm thinking about, there's other things I could layer into that day, to get more health. And I don't know, I'm always sort of looking at, making something your new norm and then adding something else in where you can that obviously is complementary. But helping people with their health, like I'm super inspired, and that's what I'm loving about the gym, is just watching people come in and just you feel empowered as they're feeling stronger, and their mental health is benefiting, they're making friendships and the community's building, and that keeps me accountable. Like after having COVID, I didn't train, and I'm getting back into it now because I was like, I'm going to just go slow and listen to my body. But watching people, because I'm there each morning training, it inspires me. Like that's why I love, I guess, working within this realm, is it really inspires me.
Amen. I love that. So if people want to find out more about you, if they want to follow you, where can they do that? Where can they find you?
So on Instagram is probably where I'm most active, and that is Holistic Health Nut. So if you jump on there, you'll probably see Lila and I doing some cooking. You'll probably meet my cute furry little puppies. See some, some of the gym shenanigans that are going on. I have also got a website, holistichealthnut.com.au, which has got some recipes on there as well, and different products I like to use. And the other thing I've got to say is I do sauna as well. We've got a sauna that is in our studio at the back, which you'll probably see on our Instagram. We've got a dog, since I spoke to you last, one of our pups. passed, but we adopted a new rescue, and he loves the sauna. He sits at the door and cries at the door to come into the sauna, and then I have to kick him out. And then he wants to get back in. But yeah, so that was, sorry, I'm digressing. That's my website. And also on Facebook, it's Aurora Gilbert hyphen holistic health nut.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's been great having you on, and I have no doubt sometime in the future we'll be back on and we can see how our daily rituals have changed.
Yeah. A lot has changed, I guess, since we spoke last.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Aurora.
Okay, take care. Thank you very much, Alex.